Everybody, All Home DIY Dad here. Today we're going to talk about doing a switch on a non-smart sprinkler system controller to a smart sprinkler system controller. Walk through the steps, show you how easy it is, and also talk a little bit about why you may want to be switching to a smart sprinkler system controller and how it could help save you some money. And I'll go through any tips and tricks as I go through this process. I haven't done it yet, I haven't prepped anything. I'm just going to kind of walk everybody through it as I do it. Please post any comments, any questions that you guys have, and I'll be happy to answer anything that I know. I'm not an expert. Again, this is DIY. I'm just figuring this stuff out as I go and hopefully learning along with you all. I'll also be posting a video at some point of the new app for the new smart system, and I'll go through all that as well on how to set up your zones and everything that you need. Specifically here, I've got a Hunter X2 controller. It actually is smart capable, and I do have the Wi-Fi hooked up to it. But the reason I'm switching is because I've been having some issues with the Wi-Fi wands on the Hunter X2 controller. I've had this for a few years. This is my second Wi-Fi wand, and I thought I had to install a third one. The second one started working again randomly after doing a bunch of troubleshooting, and then just trying it out again, it started working. But I'm kind of sick of dealing with it going in and out. You never know, it doesn't alert you if it is out, so it won't be sending the signal for the watering to go. So you might be missing waterings and paying for it with the lawn. So I know how much all our dads, like our green lawns, and I do as well. So I want to keep things looking nice, and I like smart things. So it's nice to kind of upgrade. The other reason you may want to upgrade if you don't have a smart one already is the smart systems like the Hunter, and specifically I'm switching to the Ranchio 3, is they connect to weather information, obviously via the internet. And you can localize it so that it knows when it's going to rain. It gives you the percentages. The wind is also a factor in watering. And then also looking up soil type and the area that you're in and the seasonal changes. It will do all of that for you, so that you don't have to be sitting there manually deciding, oh, I want to change it because it's hotter out today. These things will decide if it's 895 today to water 20% more, however their algorithm works. So in the end, it actually ends up saving you money because it won't do the watering when it's 75% chance or whatever percentage you choose to for it to not water. It will also not do it if there's 40-mile-per-hour winds, because basically you're wasting most of your water. It's going to spray into the air or onto the road, or however you want to set it up. You can customize it. And then obviously for different seasons, you can have it adjust. I live in Minnesota. We water from May through September, October-ish. Obviously we can't do it when it's freezing out, and it's much hotter here generally in July and August, so you can have it set to rain or water longer so that it makes up for that hot temperatures evaporating a lot of the moisture out of your soil. A lot of benefits to it. It ends up, you pay $100, $150, $200 for the unit. If you already have an Hunter X2, you can try out the wands and you can upgrade it, or you can install a whole new system. That's what I'm opting to do. I got mine at Costco. It's the Ranchio 3 12 zone. You have to make sure you get the correct controller for the zone number that you have. So if you have 4 zones, you can get an 8 zone, a 12 zone, a 16 zone. If you think you're going to upgrade later, you can get more. If you have, you just have to make sure you match the number of zones. I have 8 zones, or technically 7, potentially 8 in the future. So I have a Costco's discount at the time was a 12 zone in case I ever want to add to them. We'll get started. There's some tools that you're going to need. If you're installing, uninstalling one, installing a new one, obviously you're going to have to take the old one out, put screws in, mount it all. So I'm going to show you what I'm using here today. I've got the Hunter X2 here, and popping off the panel, I know that I'm going to be needing a screwdriver, taking out all the wires, labeling them, doing all the things that we need to do. So I've got a screwdriver, a drill, makes it a little quicker sometimes, especially for mounting the new screws. Needle nose pliers with an insulated rubber handle. Make sure you're not shocking yourself doing all that type of stuff. Grabbing wires is a lot easier with this. And then I've also got wire stripper cutter, so that if there are any ends that I need to cut off if they're not looking good, restrip, we can do that with the Wi-Fi or the sprinkler system wire. I've also got tape, standard painter's tape, and a Sharpie, because when we take out these wires out of the current controller, you're going to want to label which ones were in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to whatever number you have, so that you know what zones are what color, and you don't have to plug them in, turn them on, go outside, look at, you know, which one's on, and then go in, write it down. If you already have it set up and you know which ones are what, you just label them, put them in there. Don't have to worry about, you know, cross-checking them at the end. Additionally, my system's a little odd. I have an older house here, and prior to like 3-4 years ago, the water pressure was really bad coming from the city. And so we have a pump that's installed, and that's fairly common in some systems. People have bad water pressure. You can't run more than a couple heads with your current water pressure, so you have a pump. Our water pressure has been upgraded, and so I've recently learned that I can bypass my pump and still run all of my zones efficiently. So I have basically turned that off in my current Hunter system app, so that it doesn't actually need to run the pump to run it, which is nice because it's in my house and it's loud. You may have some of that to deal with as well, as far as wiring goes and looking at what you currently have. You may have to do some research and figure out which wires are coming for what. I'll try to explain it as best I go. I haven't really looked at mine, so I'm just figuring it out as we go here. So I'll get started. What I'm going to do first, and what you should do first, is unplug your current system. We don't want to get shocked. We don't want to be worrying about any electrical issues. This is all low voltage, but you never know. It's still better to be, you know, more safe than sorry. I'm going to start pulling these out and labeling them and which one is what. I'm going to start with the yellow wires here. That is looking like it's the power and also for my pump. One of these is likely one of the pumps. I've got my control and main valve here, and there could be a pump in the control one here, but I believe it could be one of these two. So I'm going to pull them out, label what they were under, so that I know what I need to put them on in the new Ranchio. Shouldn't have to pull out the screws all the way to get these loose. What I'm going to do here is actually, and what I advise too, is taking a picture. I'm learning this now because I've got to take the whole head off of this thing to get the wires out, and I don't want to put the tape on them and then have to try to feed the wires through and then pull the tape off. Take a picture of what it's currently at, and you can always cross-reference it after. This is main valve. It's an important one. That controls, obviously, turning off the whole valve, the main valve for the whole system. So without that one, you're not getting any water anywhere. Alright, so now we're getting to the zones. Like I said, I've got 7. Potential for more in the future, so I have 12 coming in. This one has an 8. I don't use the 8th one, so it's just 1 through 7. If you have a nice memory, maybe you don't have to label them, but I would recommend doing it. Again, you want to step outside and everybody coming in 7, 8 times to figure out which one is which. Other thing that I recommend that I've done is I did an aerial view of my house and did like a screenshot and then just kind of overlaid where my heads are in the systems, so that, you know, when you're checking your systems and making sure things are functioning properly, you know which heads are where, and you can double check that all of them are working correctly. You're gonna have, you know, if you're like me and you have 7, 8 zones, there's 3 to 4 heads on a zone. It's quite a few heads to remember exactly where they are. So it's nice to kind of take that time and do that, so that when you do have a repair and you're checking things, you know where things are at. See, this is why we label, it gets confusing. We've got a couple of black wires, like 4 yellow wires so far. Just want to make sure. You never know how these systems have been mixed and matched throughout the years. I know I added one after I did some backyard remodeling and landscaping, and redid the backyard and did that myself, so all the wires are different because I had to patch the wires. And if you have up more than 8, and you got the 6 and the 9, 6s and 9s can look pretty similar, so put a line at the bottom, knowing which one is the 6 and which one is the 9. So now I can start pulling these through here. May mess up some of the tape, but that's why I took a picture, so we can always take a look afterwards and make sure we get it all right. Couple at a time. You can also just cut this, pull everything back, restrip everything. Personally, if they're looking fine, then I don't see a reason why you need to do that. It doesn't take all that much time to, pull them all through. Have them all labeled already, they're already stripped. Why redo work that's already fine and has been working? But if you're having issues and contacts aren't very good, you may want to do that. So I've got 2 wires here, as you guys can see. This is my main line, and then this one, I'm guessing because it only has a black, which was a control, and the power for the yellow. This is most likely my pump. We'll test that at the end. I don't see why it wouldn't be. These weren't numbered 1 through 7, and one's a control and one is a power. Actually, I'm wrong, see? That's why we label control and main valve. So both of those need to be input in order for the whole system to work. So again, there we go with assuming. I'm glad I labeled it, because I would have guessed wrong and had to re-guess again what they were for. So that's why we take pictures and label. Get these all separated so that they're easier to work with when we're trying to punch them into the new system here. Goes out of the way. Now we can mount the new system. They were nice enough to give a little mounting template that makes it a little easier. You can mark it, where you want it on the wall. I also like the new Ranchio, has a magnetic cover, so you don't have to worry about popping anything off or breaking any hinges or anything like that. It just comes right off. Easier to mount. You can put it right up, screw it right in. I'm just going to mark the holes so that I make sure I'm in the right spots here when I start putting screws in. You may want to grab a level too if you're worried about leveling up and down. I'm not too worried about it. This is all hidden for me, so just want to get it in a decent spot. Let me stay right about there. Now, I'm doing this just to show you can use the template. If you're doing this in drywall, you're not hitting studs. They provide you with the anchors. This is like a little hard backer board. It's in my utility room, so that they can mount piping and all this different stuff to it, and it has insulation behind it. It's pretty hard, so I'm actually not even going to worry about it. These are really light units, so I'm just going to punch through with the screws and not worry about it. So I'm not even pre-drilling or doing anything like that. Your situation may be different. Ranchio does provide that mounting template, which will make it a little easier for you. One thing you want to do too is when you're mounting your new one, if you put it in the same spot, it's probably not going to be a problem, but you want to make sure that your cords are long enough, to get where you need them to be. So if you're wanting to move it, you may need to add cordage or remove it and pull it, and just make sure that you have what you need to do that. of this stuff is plastic, so you may want to make sure you don't over tighten as well. Cracking something would be the best idea. All right. Now it's pretty simple. So this cover just kind of goes on this. Covers up, you know, all the connections in here. See if I can get a close up for you guys when I stop filming. This pops off, so you want to run the wires up through here and into where they need to be. Again, if you want it to look pretty, you can make sure that these are a little bit shorter so you don't see all the wires coming from underneath. Generally, you're putting these, you know, boxes somewhere where people aren't going to be staring at them all the time. So I'm not real worried in here, you know, what that looks like. All right. Looks like got main valve here, which is this yellow one. Looks like these are just, Ranchio's got just push in, so you don't even need to do anything tightening. You just pop them in. This was my other control. There's two of them over here, so they're next to each other. You might as well just put them in. In all the way, there we go. That looking nice. All right, and we can start with the other bundle. Obviously filming with my phone here, so I'll just look at my labels. This is Here's an opportunity too you can always change the number of your zones. If it didn't make sense to you how it was set up before, where it was, you know, the 1 was over here and then the 2 was like 1 in the middle, you can always reorder them if you already know which ones are which, so that it goes in a nice flow when you're actually doing your system. For some that may not matter. I'm kind of OCD when it comes to stuff like that, so I want to kind of have them going in a row next to each other versus jumping around the yard. So here's your opportunity to kind of get that done if you want to, or if that always bugged you. Making sure none of the wires are actually touching each other with the exposed piece. So you get shorts and crossings, you'll make sure all of them are separated. You only have it spliced enough to, you know, get in and not be touching everything else. So there's that. Got the power for the system, their own power block. Similar to the X2, only this is separate. It's not built into the actual unit. It's a plug-in power source here. Got a nice close power source here. Hopefully you do too. To run extension cords. You put a new outlet in, that's a whole nother situation. Looks like power is working. Got a light up. I might have to put something on the wall here to keep these wires nice and tidy. So it's in, mounted. Gotta tuck these cords in so that the magnets nice. I may have to put some type of bracket to keep these against the wall a little bit, just to make sure that that magnet wants to attach here. There we go. So it's in. That was pretty simple, pretty quick. Hopefully I got everything right. In order to test, I gotta get my phone out, connect to Wi-Fi, but I do plan to post another video about the Ranchio 3 specifically and the app, and do some screen recording and setting things up. So once I have that up, I'll post another link to it. Again, if you don't have a smart Wi-Fi sprinkler system controller, I would say it's probably time. Things are pretty advanced now. You can save yourself some money on water. You'll probably pay for the unit itself over a few years in my case, and if you are watering all year round or live in a warmer weather climate, it may pay for itself a little sooner than that. I just think that as far as water usage goes in a lot of regions, it may be better to conserve water, not water when you don't need to. So overall, I think it's a really good idea. Hopefully this helps to show you how simple it is. It's not rocket science. It's not like you're doing anything with electrical panel or anything like that. It's all low voltage wires, plugging them in. This is the Ranchio 3 with the cover on it showing the blue line, which is showing it's connected to the Wi-Fi and everything's going good. A little bit of an update from the original wiring that I showed on the install. I did some playing with the controller of the master valve and the pump. I mentioned that in the other video. I wasn't sure quite how that was going to work, and I came to the conclusion that this extra wire that I had going to the pump relay does not contain a master valve. So the pump itself is run by these two wires. The black would go into the controller, the yellow would go into the master valve, and in the Ranchio app there is a setting to choose either a master valve, a pump relay, or neither. And because I'm bypassing the pump, I choose neither. I did test it with it on and plugged in, and it did run my pump, but there is no actual master valve. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, post any comments below. Also watch for the Ranchio 3 app tutorial that I will link here when it is uploaded. And any products used today, I will post a link in the description.